Welcome to Finger Thinking, a channel dedicated to analog productivity and creativity tools. Today, we have a little bit of an unusual one. This is clearly a typewriter, but when I can get the box open, we'll get to see what it is. Now, it's a blow mold box and you'll lose a fingernail trying to get the actual tabs open. There we are, needed a knife to do it, but here we go. It is a Citizen X3. I had never seen one before today. I've just picked this up, so let's have a look at it. Okay, here it is. I haven't had a look at this at all. I don't even know if it works. I tapped a couple of keys before I actually paid for it to make sure that the keys moved, and the carriage appears to move, but we're on a bit of a discovery journey here together. When I looked at it in the photos, I actually thought that this bit looked a lot very Olivetti or Underwood, if you want to get into the Underwood 310 Olivetti Dora models. And later I will actually pull out an Underwood 310 and do a comparison to see what it looks like. There is very, very, very little about this machine online. The Oz Typewriter blog by Robert Messenger has a little bit about it. Apparently, this is the only manual typewriter that Citizen ever made. It was designed in the early 1970s. It was patented in 1970. They made it for a year or so, and then they never made it again. I gather they were just a bit late to the party and should have just kept making watches, which of course they did. And so, yeah, there are some details at a glance which are immediately different to other typewriters. I've not seen this little detail here. Not sure what it is. I might have a Google in a minute. Even the types of knobs, they're just a little bulkier than I'm used to seeing, but at least it does feed okay. The little bail rollers up here, they're not cracked, which is excellent. I think someone's had a bit of fun typing on the platen itself, but the woman I bought this from, she was a school teacher, so she'd actually bought it a few years ago to take it in to show her kids what used to happen in the old days and how people used to type on things in the old days, but the novelty's obviously worn off because she's relisted it. So it's 3 colors. The ribbon is probably a bit old. If we have a look at the rest of the typewriter, so this is a bit of a gloss plastic. I don't know if that's ABS. Oh, there's a bit of a crack there that I didn't notice beforehand, but that's all right. Okay, made in Japan, Citizen Business Machine, Citizen Watch Company, there we go. There's a serial number, which, considering I can't find many of these online, I don't know if that's going to help me date it on the typewriter database. I did have a quick look and I couldn't find any of this model on that database. Anyway, we know it's post 1970 because of the patent. Otherwise, appears to be relatively clean. The feet are actually all in great condition, which is really good. It doesn't appear to be, it appears to be pretty clean. It's a little bit dusty. Let's take the top off. All right. Is there going to be a pleasant surprise with the typeface? No, it looks pretty standard, but it all looks like it's in very good nick. It might need a bit of a clean, but let's put the top back on it, put some paper in it, and see how it goes. Let's fix up some margins. There is a paper holder. Well, that's a bit stiff. that margin setter. All right, looks like we're just going to leave that there because that's a bit stiff and I'll play with that later. Put that there. All right, so that feeds very nicely, feeds nice and straight. Oh, type's great. Oh. Okay, this just scraped across the top here, but that's because I think I still had it in travel mode. So if I flip that up, not an issue. We've got double spacing. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got quadruple spacing as well. Okay, let's. Okay, the red works. I think the ribbon's an upside down, which is why I have to have it on black to get the red and the red to get the black, but that's okay, the world won't end. Very easily fixed. Wow. Let's try, oh, that's a bit annoying. Let's try all of the keys to see if the keys work. Nope, straight away, that one does not work. So that could be, I'll need to go and have a look at that. All right, so all the keys work. There, I need to have a bit of a look at this D because you can see it kind of twists in a little bit, which is a bit strange. I'm not quite sure if that's just the key that it might be a bit hard to see on camera, but so we can see that the D here is just a little bit skewiff, and I think it's actually that the key itself is bent, not just that the cap is sitting funny. So I'll have a little bit of a look at that in a minute after I give it a bit of a dust and a clean. I don't like typing on these things too much if they are dirty, because all that does is just work some dust into the mechanism. This is pretty good, but it won't kill it to just give it a bit of a once over with some rubbing alcohol, because we can see that there is some dust around the bits and pieces. And you don't know where kids have been sticking their fingers if this has been a teaching aid tool. And yeah, when we start getting down into the back, we can see that it's all a little bit dusty, and yeah, never hurts to just give it a little bit of love. Alrighty, so I'll get my cleaning gear out and we'll start to clean. Okay, well, I've just quickly solved the issue of this key. The issue was that it just obviously hadn't been used in a while, and it was just stuck to the rubber backing there. So as soon as I lifted it off manually, now it's fine. Okay, so I have some isopropyl alcohol, just a little cap to put the alcohol in, some Q-tips or cotton buds as we call them, and I'm just going to start getting in and just getting out some of this dust. Okay, so I have a new toy for cleaning typewriters. I have what CompuCleaner Expert. I bought this off Amazon. I think it was $100. So there are cheaper ones. There are battery powered ones out there. What I did want to do was get a battery powered one and find out that it was just rubbish. So I got a mains powered one. The cord's pretty long and it is an air blower. So it, as it sounds, that was only on one. You can see it on my hand on two. So this is going to blow any remaining dust. I got a lot of the dust, and so now I'm just going to do a little bit of blowing to get any left over. All right, it's very noisy, so you don't want to do it if anyone else in the house is asleep. But that's actually the first time I've used it for a typewriter. I've used my little blower for some other things, but I think that was highly effective. Can't wait to use it on some more. This linkage here for the ribbon direction reversal, it's in a really inconvenient location. But anyway, these type slugs are pretty clean. I don't really know how much use this has had over the years, to be honest, or someone's given it an excellent clean not too long ago as far as usage hours go, but I will give them a clean whilst I'm here. Okay, so now we have a clean typewriter. Let's have a look at the ribbon. Now, the ribbon, this is the sort of ribbon that you see if you have an Olivetti, like a letter, a 22 or a 32, anything that has the spool nuts on it. That is not required for this, as there's no threaded, this spool is not a threaded spool. It has the little lug here that actually goes on the, I think it's the group 9 universal ribbons. I don't have any of those lying around at the moment. I've got ones that are brand new that I don't want to open. This ribbon is in pretty good nick, so I may as well just use this ribbon up. So the reason that they've got this upside down is because if you put it the right way up, then there's nothing on this side of the spool to actually catch on that little lug there, whereas on the underside, the lug will actually fit in any of those holes. So that's why it's upside down. I'm just going to leave it like that so that I can get as much use out of the ribbon as possible. But just in case you were wondering, the group 9 universal ribbon, so with the 4 dots, that does fit this. So that's completely fine to use. This is just an old one and I don't want a single colour. I like having a dual colour, so I'll put the original ribbon back on it. There you go. That one's fine that way. If we switch this around, one's fine the other way. Okay, put this back together and have a look at all of the functions and how it actually works. Okay, so I was able to fix my paper guide over here, so I've got it in a much more reasonable spot. You have your margins here. So if we have a look at how that's fed nice and straight. I'm very happy with that. We'll have it on single for now. We can see that it's a tabulator machine. So what that means is that, so we have the set and the clear. So if I lift this up, there's an S and there's a C over here. So that's the set and the clear for the tabs. I'll show you how that works. So at the moment, I have no tab set. So if I decide that I want to set a tab, let's set tabs. Set one here, here, and here. What we do, go along, oh, let's just put the paper stand up so it's not dragging on the wall. So if we go to here and we push this S, push the toggle up to S, that should set a tab there. Now let's go along to here, set another one. I don't know if you can hear it. It's pushing the lug out at the back. And then we'll set one there. All right, so if we go back to the beginning of the line, if we press tab, there we go. 2. Excellent, so that works. If we want to clear them, we can either go to that one and then as I'm sitting against that tab, I can move the toggle to C and clear. If I go back, we'll find that we go straight past that tab now. We go to the next one. Then I can clear that one. I can clear that one. I think it also works that if you set a few, okay, we've got a few tabs set in there. If I hold the clear toggle down and then move that all the way along, that should clear everything. And it does. There we go. So I've cleared all the tabs in one go. Just in case you're wondering how tabs work, if we set a few, so we'll set them. So let's set an extra one in the middle. All right, so if I now turn the typewriter over, I don't know if we can just see one. So see these little guys here? So when I set a tab, it actually pushes it out. So it pushes that out. If I was to clear that tab, it would push it back in line. So there we go. I actually have 2 tabs pushed out at the moment. There's another one in there. You won't be able to see all of them just because the carriage doesn't extend beyond the width of the machine. But yeah, so that's how they work. And when they clear, they just push back in so that your carriage moves up and down. So they're pretty straightforward, just in case you'd ever wondered how they worked. I'm not a big fan of using them. First of all, I don't type anything that needs a tab. Second, I find them really violent. And I'm always worried that they're just going to break off and I'm going to damage my machine. So I don't typically use them. But if I was ever doing something that was indented at regular intervals, I would use them. But for now, I'm happy to clear them. There we go. All right, so if we look at the rest of it, this is a pretty standard machine, even though it's a 1970. So I've done a little bit of Googling off camera. Let's just line that up better. Sorry about that. I've done some more Googling off camera. Citizen released this in 1970, and it appears to be the only year that they made it. So whatever the serial number, it is a 1970 machine. We've covered the ribbon selector, so black and red if your ribbon was around the right way, but it's not. We've got the tabs. We have this lever in here. This is just your kind of touch selector. I think up is light and down is heavy. I can't see it making any difference at all. So if I just I'll move that down. Whoops, sorry. That looks identical to me. So maybe the top's slightly lighter. If your fingers can actually make a difference, then you might worry about that. I think most people nowadays would have no use for the imprint selector. We have back button that works. We have our margin release button. What else do we have? Oh, we do have, okay, so this is just the carriage release up here. We went over our different line widths earlier. Now, one thing we do have that's hidden away a little bit in here, I'll just get that out of the way. So this lever here is your carriage lock. So put the typewriter, if we move it up, so you can hear that click, move it up, move the carriage back to the center and it will lock. And then I just push it back down and the carriage is no longer locked. Locked. No longer locked. Considering the case that it came in, the carriage isn't going to be able to move around much anyway, so it's almost a little bit redundant, but if I was moving it around, I would absolutely turn it on. I don't tend to take my typewriters anywhere though, so it won't get used much. That, I think, is basically a rundown of the features of this typewriter. So it is new enough to have a dollar sign as opposed to a pound key, because it was post-decimal currency in Australia. I don't know if this was delivered to Australia. The woman I bought it off was at least the second owner. She wasn't the first owner. But it does have the cents and it does have an ACK key. Not a lot of the older ones have an ACK key. Has its own exclamation mark, which is great because then you don't have to do it with the apostrophe and the full stop. And it's not full of fractions. So this is one of the things with the older machines. No one gives a hoot about fractions. It's got 3, but I do have some machines that have 7/8 and bits and pieces on them as well. Who cares? No one anymore. So let's try typing. Let's put it down a little bit. Okay, single spacing, really, really close. Let's try this. So what, oh, sorry. Double spacing, all right. I'm not quite sure what size font that is, so let's get a ruler out and check. Okay, let's get that. Center it again. Right, what have we got? So let's measure that. Typewriter is a 10 character word, 10 letter word. So that's 10 characters to an inch, which is a big font. It's a little bit larger than I typically like. However, it's still a nice font. One thing I have noticed as I've kind of done a little bit of typing and moved it up is some of the letters are just a little bit lighter than the others. So I don't know if that's just my fingers. I wonder if that changes if I actually change the impression to hard. Whoops-a-daisy. Okay, if we have a look, then when I've actually moved it to the heavier setting for the impression, then it is actually more consistent. There's probably still a little bit in my fingers because you can actually see that it's consistently on the same letters. So that's probably the tradesman, not the tool. And if there's a lot of noise in the background, I apologize. That's just my dog walking round and round in circles. All right, so the other thing that we can see is there is a little bit of, we've got a little bit of red at the top of some of these letters. That's probably mostly to do with the fact that the ribbon is upside down, so I'm not worried about it. I certainly won't be doing anything to adjust. I will just be doing a lot of typing on this machine. So far, I'm a fan. It's got a nice sturdy touch. It's probably not the fastest action, but then I need to spend a little bit more time on it to figure it out. But yeah, there will come a point in time where I do actually want to fix this D key and just twist it around the other way. But for now, I'm just going to leave it how it is. It's going to be pretty warm here tomorrow, so I might sit this out in the sun, and when it's warmed up a little bit, it might soften a little bit and then I can bend it back, but I don't want to force it today. Otherwise, very happy with this machine. It's in great nicks. Had a little bit of use, but not a lot of use. And it was pretty clean. There was a little bit of dust, but it wasn't though it's been sitting on a shelf for years on end. And it wasn't rusty from sitting out in the garage, as sometimes these things are. So if you come across a Citizen X3, I recommend it. They are also sold as a Neckermann Brilliant Record S. I had never heard of a Neckermann before today. They appear to be quartz machines, not QWERTYs, so they will be somewhere from Europe. Anyway, but still a nice machine to use. Not very common, but they're pretty familiar. I haven't got out my other Olivettis for this video to line them up. I will do that in a future video just so we can see some similarities. But I think anyone who's spent a bit of time with certainly the more modern, the plastic Olivettis and Underwoods will think that the keyboard itself and the font used on the keyboard is very, very familiar. All right, so that's it today for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you want to see some more. And yeah, have a great day. See you in the next video.